And welcome to another edition of Rosen Sports Monday, though it's not a Monday, brought to you by Broadway Dental and Lexus of Wyzetta. Thanks to Charlie Swanson over at Lexus and, of course, Dr. Ben Stein at Broadway Dental. We'll hear from our sponsors a bit later. My good friend and the founder of Talk North Sports is Jim Souhan, who's here today. Jimmy, this might be the last time the Vikings may not come up in the discussion for the rest of the year. Other things to talk about. We're in that sports abyss a little bit right now, although there's still a lot of things going on. And I know you're a ball guy, have been for many, many years, and you can't avoid the obvious right now. The Twins are in a rut that you just scratch your head. I mean, and we know Pablo Lopez got hurt and is out for months and months and months. May not come back, may come back. But you look at this pitching rotation, they still had Joe Ryan. Still got Chris Paddock, who was coming back and looked good. Bailey Ober has always been pretty reliable. They're giving up runs like a slow-pitch softball team. And it's just disturbing to watch right now because they're just getting thrashed. What's going on?
It's horrible. Really, this team has been bad since the start of last August. And it's really strange, too, because when Joe Ryan got hurt last August, they were in great shape. They were going to make the playoffs. They were like a 99 on ESPN's tracker. They were like 99% sure to make the playoffs. And Joe Ryan got hurt, and the entire team stopped hitting. That makes no sense, but that's what happened. This year,
right?
They're in great shape. They have a great month of May. They're right there. They're in the playoffs. And Lopez and Zebby Matthews get hurt.
Right.
And they stop hitting. Once again, completely illogical. But I think we have to look at the big picture here. Since the beginning of August last year, this has just been a bad team. And they had a little reprieve from that this May, mainly because the starting pitching was absolutely dominant for a month. But they don't really have a strength right now. It's not a good hitting team. It's not a fast team. It's not a good defensive team overall, even though they have Buxton and Correa, who are both exceptional defensively. And, when the starting pitching performs at a very high level, as it did in May, then all the other things, there are other problems can be mitigated. And they have enough end game relievers who are excellent, Duran and Jax at the top of that list, but also Varland and Colomb, who's having a good year. They have enough people at the end of the game that if the starter gets them to 6th or 7th, they should be able to hold you down. What happened when Lopez got hurt was they needed Ober, Ryan, and Paddock to take the reins. And instead, all three have fallen apart. So it feels. I was talking to a key member of the Twins organization this weekend. He was basically saying it's whack-a-mole. You try to fix one problem, two other problems pop up, and this is the first time I've felt in this regime that there's a sense of, oh my God, this might be it.
I'm going to, down the road here, get a good friend of ours, Rick Abraham, who's a sports psychologist and has been with the Twins for many, many years. It seems as if they need their version of a Dr. Phil right now. I don't know how to describe what's going on with Bailey
Somebody
Ober.
more competent than Dr. Phil, I would hope.
I would hope so. Yeah, I just use that as an association. But you're right about that. Talk about frauds. Yes. Anyway, Bailey Ober is a study in that because I feel bad for the guy. He's always been very steady. He's very capable of giving you 6-7 innings almost every time out. Just kind of nonplussed out there. He just kind of does his job, gets off the mound. And psychologically, he's got to be a wreck right now.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you lose your ability to be a major league pitcher like he's losing it? I don't understand that because he's still throwing the ball hard. Is it just a matter of location? Is it just you can't control more? You can't throw more than one pitch successfully? I don't know how to answer it. But I'm not just picking on Bailey Ober because obviously you just cited a whole bunch of other things that are going on with this baseball team.
Baseball is the most mysterious sport to me, which makes it interesting, also makes it confounding. He might be tipping his pitches. Other teams are swinging like they know it's coming.
Right.
And sometimes that means you're tipping your pitches. He might have, his stuff was always just good enough for him. Just good enough that if he pitched intelligently, he can get people out.
Yeah.
And it looks to me like everything's a tick down. Looks like he's missing a mile or two an hour on his fastball, which probably also means he's not getting quite the spin on his breaking pitches. Also, the command has not been good. It's like, what's wrong with Bailey Ober? Everything is wrong with him. Command, stuff, maybe predictability, maybe he's tipping his pitches. He mentioned, because he was getting so many questions about his physical state, he mentioned a week or two back that he has a sore hip. I've been told that it's really not an injury. It's just kind of the typical soreness people go through in the Major League. But maybe that's bothering him in some way.
Well, the Twins don't have the luxury of, hey, take a break, go to St. Paul for a
They have nobody to call up right now.
No, that's the problem.
They need, and Zebby Matthews probably doesn't come back. Now that we're getting to the end of June, he probably doesn't come back until after the All-Star break. Maybe one start before that. But so Zebby Matthews might help a little bit. But right now you have nobody in the rotation you feel good sending to the mound. A month after, you felt good sending everybody in the rotation to the mound.
How ironic, because we are seeing basically the best version of Byron Buxton that we've seen in a long time. This is what we've been waiting for.
Yep.
A healthy, productive, motivated Byron Buxton in the leadoff position, hitting for power, stealing a few bases, staying away from crashing into fences and injuring his shoulder. He's doing everything you want from the guy, and yet, unfortunately, it's the wrong timing.
And he's been great. He's been absolutely great, and they're wasting it. And one of the reasons they're wasting it, obviously the pitching problems we just went through are very obvious. The other thing is, Royce Lewis has shown us that he can be a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And again, since early August last year, he has either been hurt or he looks like he belongs in A-ball.
Crazy.
And even when he broke out of his slump in quotation marks, even when he started breaking out of his slump in early June, and he was hitting 310 or 330 or something for the month before he got hurt again, that was fool's gold. He was not taking at bats the way he's capable of taking at bats. He was not driving the ball the way he's capable. He was getting some hits, but that looked flukish. He has not gotten back to being the guy he needs to be for almost a calendar year now.
This morning, I looked at the wild card standings for the first time in a while, and the Twins, up until a week ago, really a week and a half ago, they were right there, maybe a game or two out, a couple other teams battling with them, but right in the mix. Now they're nowhere to be found. They're out of sight, out of mind. And does that beg the question with the trading deadline coming up at the end of July, whatever, that they're going to be sellers? Is there anyone to sell? Are they going to be in that position? I mean, we know they're selling the team, and that hopefully will happen sooner than later, but what do they do? I mean, I don't. They're not. What kind of commodities do they have that would interest other teams at this point?
I don't think they're going to acquire anybody. I also don't think they're going to trade anybody.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to acquire anybody because I don't think they're going to trade away top prospects or what it would take to get or spend the money it would take to get somebody who would actually make a difference. I don't think they're going to make those moves while ownership is uncertain. I also don't think. Listen, this entire regime could get blown out by the new ownership. They're going to want to put the best face on their operation that they can. They're not going to give up if there's any chance of them rebounding. And because for all the things that are wrong with this team, and everything's wrong with this team right now, it's also baseball. They could turn it around when we least expect it.
Mm-hmm.
They could get Zebby Matthews back, and he could settle things down, and Ober could figure out what's wrong with him, and Royce could come. I mean, there are ways that this could be a good team. As dire as it seems right now, I don't think Falvey and Zoll are going to give up on this team when they're about to be sold to another team to come in and look and try to decide whether to keep them or not.
And we hear through Dan Hayes of The Athletic that, people are speculating about Rocco Baldelli's future. He indicated that Baldelli's already going to be extended for next season, that he'll be back as manager of the Twins. Have you heard the same thing, same buzz, basically?
I actually haven't heard that. I have no reason to doubt Dan Hayes. He's a responsible reporter, so if he writes it, I believe it. I hadn't been paying much attention to the futures of this group because I don't know what the future is going to be, no matter what their contractual situation is. I view baseball managers far different than the average fan and observer. This team isn't losing because of Rocco Baldelli. He might get fired because the team is playing poorly.
Paul Molitor got fired.
That could happen. That could happen at any time to any manager. This team isn't losing because of Rocco Baldelli. This team is losing because the core players aren't performing. You can blame that on the manager, but I also watched Tom Kelly get second-guessed while winning 2 World Series in 5 years. He went on his Sunday morning radio show.
Oh, I remember.
And everybody ripped him for every decision he made. The baseball, it's so easy to rip the manager and to misunderstand his actual control of events. It's not like football. It's not football. The head coach is really the key person in the entire organization. hires the coordinators, decides what style to play, calls the plays or oversees the calling of the plays, picks the players that are right for him in conjunction with the general manager. Baseball, let's face it, the manager is generally helpless. If they win, he gets credit, but he didn't really win.
Right.
And if he lose, it's
true.
It's just not the same cause and effect as another sport. So, I'm not saying Rocco's done anything brilliant. I just don't think I think the idea that the baseball manager is responsible for winning, losing is crazy. Earl Weaver was kind of the person I based all my managerial studies on, because I grew up in the Baltimore area. I read all of his books. I went to all of his speeches. He always said, this always rung true to me. I think a bad manager can ruin a team. You can lose the clubhouse. You can wreck your pitching staff. A good manager, you're trying to steal 2 or 3 games a year, And is Rocco ruining this team? No. Is he gifted enough of a manager that he's stealing a few games? You could have said that in certain years. You can't say it now because they're not winning any games. I just don't think he's the variable that determines the team's success right now.
And it's unfortunate because right now, other than the Minnesota Lynx, who we'll get into in just a minute, the Twins have the sports landscape all to themselves. Yep. We're in the middle. And
by the way, they are very aware of that.
Yeah.
They realize June is their month.
Yeah.
They know that people aren't going to come out to the ballpark when it's cold in April. They know that in May, people are going to their cabins and they have school kids, kids still in school. June is the month they want to capitalize on. It's devastating for that franchise and their business model to be bad this month.
Yeah, they got a great schedule coming up. The Cubs are coming to town. I mean, that under normal and they'll still may draw real well, but you're not getting that daily buzz. And that's the thing that's unfortunate.
And they deserve, listen, they deserve to be ripped. Sometimes, sometimes this market, there's a misunderstanding of how baseball works, and they have a bad game or a bad week and people panic. Every team has bad weeks and bad games, but this is legitimate. This is legitimate bad baseball that is threatening the job security of everybody involved.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, it's sad. That's all I can say for people who've been around this team forever and ever. And, it goes back to ownership and and then some, but there's a lot that's going on. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. The Timberwolves are continuing to be in the news after going to their second straight Western Conference Finals, losing to the eventual champion Thunder. The Kevin Durant saga ended kind of like we thought it would. We didn't know what team he'd end up going to. We went to Houston. Said he didn't want to play here. Kind of the proverbial handwriting was on the wall. Was that the way you read it right away as well? Did you ever think there was a really good chance that Durant would end up here with his good buddy Anthony Edwards? I
knew Connolly was going to make a strong pitch and make a strong move, but eventually the Rockets just made more sense. The Rockets had more salary cap space. They had more young talent they were willing to trade. They were more willing to give up high draft picks. And Durant wanted to play there and was willing to sign a long-term extension. For Durant, it's a warm weather state. It's the state he chose to play college basketball in.
Right.
And it's a no-tax state.
Yep. All those things.
So the Timberwolves really never had a chance. I give Connolly credit for taking a shot at it and at least putting himself in the conversation. But now that we see it play out, you kind of saw that was the logical
weeks ago before all this went down, and there was still a lot of speculation about it. I'm name dropping Breakfast with Trent Tucker. It sounds like a show, but I asked Trent about Durant, and he said he kind of shook his head a little bit. He goes, "He's a sensitive guy."
Oh, he's very sensitive,
and that is an interesting term. Wasn't like knocking. Can't dribble to his left. Can't do this or do that. He's a very sensitive guy.
Yes,
and that's an interesting word to associate with one of the all-world great shooters of all time. But that may be the case. He says this team needs another point guard, and we're going to find out if Tim Connolly has something up his sleeve with the draft on Wednesday night. Obviously, there's trades that are possible. They have the 17th pick, at least the one that stands out right now. Or are they going to in the sports vernacular these days run it back and count on a younger version? I mean, an improved Rob Dillingham, Shannon Brooks. They got other young guys on this team right now that have yet to really contribute. Is Connolly looking at that along with Chris Finch to say we got enough talent right now to at the least get back to where we were a year ago, or are they going to have to make another move?
I do think they'd be a good team if they just stood pat, but that's not what they want. They want to win a championship. Dillingham brings a lot. Incredibly quick, can break down any defense, can create, can get his own shot, can finish near the rim. His shooting and ability to run the offense are the two things that are in question. So he might be ready next year, and he might be able to get by with some kind of combination of Dillingham's unpredictability and Conley being just kind of a mentor who comes off the bench and gives you a few minutes. But that doesn't feel like the way Conley thinks. Conley's going to want better than that, I would think.
Veteran guard.
Well, here's the other interesting thing. At 17, you're probably not going to get an NBA starter on a good team. But what if Walter Clayton Jr. from Florida is available? He's an older point guard. He played at a high level for a long time. He can shoot. He can handle. He can run an offense. He's physically strong. He's mature. He's probably about as old as Ant already. He could be an I'm not really making a prediction. I don't know if that's the way they're going to go. But I would think at this point, not getting Durant, that Conley's plan is to bring back as much of the team as possible and find a way to have an upgrade at point guard while Dillingham improves. I don't know who that person is yet, but we always have to throw in this caveat. Every time Conley makes a move, it's a complete surprise to everyone. So it's not necessarily something
I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen.
No.
That's the fun part about it. And we've had now, 7 different NBA champions in 7 years.
Yep.
OKC looks like, with their youth and with the SGA and what they have built and more draft picks, that they could potentially be a team that could go on a run in a couple of years. But there's always that but. You just don't know. Injuries, as we saw again in the finals, play a big role. It could happen in game one or game 82 or during the playoffs. It could derail your team. So there's no assurance that OKC is going to be back as hungry as they were and as effective as they were. It's a difficult thing to try to overcome. So
I would just pick against anybody repeating in this era of the NBA.
Yeah.
And Spurs are going to be really interesting this year.
Yeah.
We don't know what the Lakers are going to do around Luka and LeBron.
A much improved, physically able Luka Doncic, who's apparently just shedding pounds as we speak again and again and again.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't trust him, but we'll see. But I mean, the West is going to be as strong, if not stronger. So I think the Wolves will be a very good team next year. But they've reached a point now where they're going to be defined by their playoff success.
Will we see any obvious changes with the Laurie A-Rod ownership now taking over? Where Glenn Taylor will still have his seat, apparently, but seat at the house, but not obviously actively involved at all in this franchise. It's all A-Rod and Laurie, other than those guys, doing their due diligence on a new arena, which is never going to end. That's one of their biggest objectives. But as far as day-to-day operations, the way the team is going to look, any other changes, how much influence do they have, other than their normal kind of visibility that those two guys like to have?
I think they view the current business side as Taylor loyalists, so I think they will blow out the business side and start over.
We've already seen some of that with our guys, Ethan. And,
yes, and so that Ethan did a great job over there. I thought really professionalized that organization. Had a lot of good people. So I hate to see that. I get it, but I hate to see it.
Good man too. Both of them.
Yes, and I think that. And here's the thing: talk about unpredictability. A-Rod's an egomaniac, and Laurie's weird. So I don't know what they're going to do. I would hope that they realize you don't bring in Tim Connolly, and credit to them for bringing him in. You don't bring Tim Connolly and pay him $9 million or whatever he's making a year, and then meddle or second guess him. Just let him work. Stay the heck out of the way. You want to be visible. You want to be celebrities. You want to sit courtside. Great. Pay the bills and stay the hell out of the basketball operation.
Let's take a break right now. We'll come back and talk about the other tenant of the Target Center, the always red hot and interesting Minnesota Lynx. They have a big game coming up with Caitlin Clark in Indiana. We'll talk about that. And we will also discuss what is PJ Fleck doing to attract all these top recruits from the state of Minnesota. Oh, my. Stay with us here on Rosen Sports Monday. Let's hear from our great sponsors, Broadway Dental and Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. Hey, Rosie here for Broadway Dental and my good friend, Dr. Ben Stein. I'm a patient of Dr. Stein's at both his sleep apnea clinic and dental clinic. He has a newly renovated and conveniently located dental office in Northeast Minneapolis next to Certix. I mean, it's the most modern facility you could possibly find. Dr. Stein has a great chairside manner. He's nice. He's understanding. He obviously knows his stuff, and he'll spend quality time with each patient. We'll make sure they are properly cared for. I want to talk about beyond the obvious dental care is sleep apnea. I was diagnosed with it years ago, and I was stuck with that silly, cumbersome CPAP machine, and I couldn't wait to get rid of it. And I mentioned it to Dr. Stein, and he set me up with his sleep appliance area. And it's the easiest thing in the world. You just pop an upper, lower appliance in each night. My snoring is gone. My wife says I don't snore at all, and I get a restful night's sleep. And if you have sleep apnea, Dr. Stein is the best to see as well to help you in that area. So if you want to contact them in Broadway Dental, give them a call at 612-379-2300. That's 612-379-2300. Hey, Rosie here for Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than my good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they have got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today. All right, welcome back to Rosen Sports Monday. Jim Souhan is here with me. I mentioned now the other tenant of occupying Target Center, and the WNBA is getting lots of publicity for some amazing reasons, some interesting reasons. Minnesota Lynx are quietly 12-1, looking as efficient as they ever have. They have a showdown with the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark coming up July 1st at Target Center for the WNBA Commissioner's Cup. Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yep.
And there's some money involved, and that's good for them because I heard some of the interviews with some of the players in the Lynx, and this is big to them. This is extra dollars that they don't. The NBA players, they got plenty in their deep pockets. Different situation than WNBA, but they have a couple of games. I think 3 games maybe before their showdown with Caitlin, which I'm sure it'll be a full house. I mean, it's going to be crazy busy in there, and the excitement level. But watching this Lynx team, and I love watching them right now. They are as efficient as a basketball team as they've ever had. I mean, efficient. Maybe doesn't have the star system all the way around. Obviously, Nafisa Collier is the best, maybe of the best. But, they have a lot of really good role players who understand what they need to do out there.
It's fascinating when you look at Cheryl Reeves' work as a general manager. At first she kind of wanted to just give Sylvia Fowles as many chances as she could at winning another ring. And she kind of just try to patch things around Sylvia. Then it became Collier's team. And when the first WNBA first really had its first unfettered free agency, people like Breanna Stewart were out there. Mm-hmm. And Cheryl really thought with the reputation of the Lynx and the way they run their organization and the way players like playing here, she was going to get a couple of those big names. And she went after it. It didn't happen. She settled. I don't mean that as an insult, but she settled for Kayla McBride, Ariel Powers, and Natalie Achunwa. Only one of the 3 could. Well, McBride was a very good fit and a very good player. Powers was probably the personality that caused Cheryl to not want Angel Reese. She didn't want another person like that around. Natalie Achunwa was a waste of time. And so next time Cheryl really went into free agency, I think she had a better understanding of just how good Collier was going to be. She looked for fit, and she gets Courtney Williams. It's fascinating too. Courtney Williams is not really a point guard, and yet she's one of the best point guards in the league in this system. Alana Smith is not really a center, and yet she's one of the best inside players in the league in this system. Collier is not a great athlete, shouldn't be as good as she is, and yet she's the best player in the world. It's like they have so much going on. And then McBride is really perfect for Cheryl. Tough defender who shoots the 3, gets her own shot, great teammate. I mean, she's just put together a beautiful team. And I will remind all the people who thought she should have drafted Angel Reese that if you have Angel Reese instead of Alana Smith, I don't think all this works.
Interesting.
She might have better numbers.
Yeah.
She might get more rebounds, but that doesn't mean your offense is going to be as efficient. Your locker room is going to work as well. Don't mess with what she's built here.
No, and this is she's turned it all around from the glory years we've had with Waylon and Maya Moore and some Rebecca Brunson, Sylvia Falls, the rest of them, Simone Augustus, and changed it all around. Here we are again, knocking on the door. And they should have won it last year. That's a whole nother story. As far as Caitlin Clark goes, she's the straw that stirs the drink, as they say in the WNBA. It seems like every game she plays, there's some kind of controversial aspect of either her taking a cheap fall, getting hit, responding, maybe a teammate coming to her defense, or wondering what's going to happen. She's pretty good at doing the SGA thing a little bit as well. I think she's selling it pretty well. I'm not suggesting that some of these shots aren't legit. They are, but Caitlin knows that she can maneuver things around her way too. But how do you kind of put all the pieces together with all the angles of what Caitlin Clark's impact is and the way her fellow players are reacting to her and the fan base?
By the way, I'm going to be on vacation when that game occurs.
I am too, unfortunately.
I regret it because I would love to be there for that.
I know. I'm going to be going too.
So Nafisa Collier is the best player in the world. Caitlin Clark is the most important women's basketball player in the world.
Right. Because
of everything she brings. She brings attention. She brings the casual fan. She brings the rural white fan. You couldn't invent a better player for the WNBA because she is constantly in the headlines. She's constantly making news. She plays chippy style. She plays a spectacular style. She does things nobody else can do. She can shoot from the logo in the course of a regular offense. And the fact that some players in the WNBA resent her, either because she got so much fanfare coming in or, for whatever, or because she does play chippy style or because she does have a mouth, it's perfect for the league. And you know what? The fact that so many people are annoyed is also perfect for the league. It gives them, it's great to have villains. It's generally a league of pretty nice people. It's great for the league to have a villain.
Yeah, I don't know, and it comes up under whispers many times how much a racial component is involved with Caitlin, that maybe some of the black players are jealous, envious, even though forgetting the aspect that Caitlin's put money in everyone's pockets, that they begrudge her because of all the things you just said. She's getting the publicity more than, and Caitlin's always talking about, and Paige Beckers is always referring to equality in this league and what these players have done to make the WNBA what it is today. But it's always kind of a overhanging sort of theme sometimes with Caitlin a little bit. I don't look at it that way, but I think other people do.
Well, I think there are certain black players in the league who are like, we've been here playing great basketball in the best league in the world, winning championships, getting to we're going to all-star games, and we got 1/100th the attention this rookie coming in got because she was good in college. So part of it is the racial component. Part of it is jealousy of a rookie that does occur. It's almost like the reverse Tiger Woods. If you remember, and this has gone away, people have forgotten this. When Tiger first came out, there were Fuzzy Zeller type comments. There were a lot of players saying, "Hey, who's this guy? This guy hasn't played on the tour.
Right.
This guy isn't good enough."
Fuzzy.
And some of them were racist, and some of them were just jealous of the attention, and it was a combination. That's what's happening here. And I hate the racial component of it, but that's part of it.
Yeah, it is part of it. You can't ignore it. And I don't think it's something that when people watch the games, this is it's a black and white situation. I don't know. But I don't think all of it is bad for the league. I think it's something that will find its level.
It's good because the WNBA needs conversations. They do. I used to have this conversation with people in WNBA. They're like, "Oh, we don't want any negative publicity." I said, "Yeah, you do. You want negative publicity. You want to get to the point where the talk show host, not on this network, the talk show host that you think is an idiot is ranting about your league for any reason because he's going to get people interested.
Don't run from it.
Nope.
Yeah, embrace it because
and fight back if you want. I'm not saying you should accept what other people say, but what you want is the average sports fan talking about you, and Caitlin Clark in all these guises gets people talking about you.
Correct. Back to our local sports. My goodness, PJ Fleck, either they found a bounty of money in nil money or Dinkytown Athletics, but the latest news is that he has got a verbal commitment from another number 1 ranked Minnesota high school player, Jackson County, Roman Voss, projected as a top tight end, beat out Alabama among every other school. He's running through a string of number 1 top ranked Minnesota players. Clay Parrish, obviously, looks like the next NFL. I hate to say it, but he does have the makings of an NFL safety / cornerback. But I'm anxious to hear about what the breakdown is. We're not going to get necessarily a financial statement on what PJ is doing, but something's working over there. If you beat out Alabama to get a kid like that.
I mean, Parrish is phenomenal.
He is.
He is phenomenal. He's going to be one of the best players in the country this year. And Voss he
may play both ways too,
and he should with his athletic ability. I mean, imagine him running a fade. I mean, his leaping ability, his body control, his competitiveness, he's phenomenal. And getting Voss, I used to rip on PJ because I just couldn't stand the rhetoric, and the oratorical style. But I have nothing negative to say about running a program where you get this kind of talent in, and I mean, this is what he promised to do, was to fight for the best Minnesota recruits. He's getting them. He's run a competitive program for a long time here. And now when you get players like this, you get decent quarterback play, and that could be something special.
And Jim, honestly, I thought it might go the other way when Nil and the transfer portal hit. I thought, man, things are going to get worse for the Gophers. They can't really compete against these, the Michigans, Ohio States, and Wisconsin even. But although they had some success against Wisconsin, it's just been the opposite lately, at least on paper.
Right.
And this is for the 2026 class we're talking about. This year, he's signed a bunch of guys as well. So either the nil money is working, they're getting more contributions than we thought, because it's not cheap. I mean, I don't know what Voss is getting, but he's not coming here because it's rah Sky U Mom. That maybe he wants to play in his home state, and that might be a big part of it. But there's also a financial element, as it has to be and as it should be right now.
Yeah, and listen, I'm guessing the more renowned programs were willing to pay more, but we don't, I don't really know that for sure.
No.
The key is being competitive enough financially that if somebody wants to stay here, they can justify it to themselves. And
now they have to, PJ say they need to break through. They can't muddle through their way through losing some games. They shouldn't lose. They beat Wisconsin every other year now, or whatever it might be. Iowa has been a difficult run for them. But, when you got Oregon, you got Ohio State on your schedule this year. I mean, you got some top nationally ranked teams. Somehow, some way, you got to make a dent to try to compete at that highest level if you want to get recognized to follow up on these recruits that you're getting.
Right. I almost feel like we now when I first got to town, the feeling was Gopher football was just a mess and was kind of hopeless, and you just had to take your shots. And Gopher basketball was a strong program that, was going to rise up every 3 or 4 years and be pretty good. Now it's kind of the opposite. We don't. Now I love the Nico Medved hire. I hope he does well. I think he's at least got a fighting chance. But it feels like Gopher football now is in a position where they can get good players. They can have the occasional really good season. So the real question is, the obvious statement. Can he turn Parrish and Voss and players like that into breakthrough success on the field? They should give him a chance
and draw even more fans.
Yeah,
exactly. Meanwhile, Bill Guerin, the Minnesota Wild, supposedly has a lot more money now than he's ever had because of the Parisi Suter situations. They need a center, yet they're talking about trading Marco Rossi, who's just about one of their few centers that they have at the age of 23 or whatever, a young center that they have, and it's a head scratcher. I'm sure. Listen, I have a lot of respect for Bill, but man, it seems like he's caught in a situation where it doesn't look like the needle's going to be moved all that much this offseason.
I think a lot of the money they're saving on Parisi and Suter are going to have to go to the Kaprizov.
Yeah,
signing.
Kaprizov. They got a few other players they got to take care of. Yeah.
They're going to have to pay Kaprizov whatever the heck he wants. They can't lose him. He's got all the leverage. They're going to have to pay him what he wants. And there'll be a little bit money left over, but not huge money. Maybe they can get somebody like Brock Besser to come home. Maybe there's a player out there they can get. But I agree with you. I think Bill doesn't view Marco Rossi as his kind of player. Mm-hmm. Maybe not gritty enough. Maybe not the kind of personality he wants to see in the locker room. He's got to get over that. You win games by outscoring the opponent. this is one of their few young players who can score goals, create goals. He plays center, and centers are hard to find.
They need one.
If they trade him, they're going to go out. Basically, if they trade him, they're going to have to go out and try to find somebody who's like him, only cusses more or something. I don't know.
The Panthers have any extra players on their roster? Man, they are impressive.
Yeah,
that's a machine. That's a really great hockey franchise. Well, I think the next time we chat, we'll be talking about every spiral that J.J. McCarthy throws at training camp.
We have to be there to chart every pass he throws.
You know that's going to happen.
I was doing a radio hit the other day, and we were talking about, and they were like, "Hey, tell us what's going on at Viking practice." I said, They're practicing. That's what happens at practice. They practice.
As Allen Iverson says, we're talking about practice. I mean, it's so true. But this is going to be a whole different emphasis this year because last year, McCarthy was here. We watched him with curiosity, wondering if he's going to play at some point. Now there's no curiosity about it. He's the guy. But so it'll all be happening before you know it, in a blink of an eye here at the end of July. Jimmy, thanks so much, of course, for spending some time.
Enjoyed it, Mark. Thank you.
Always great. Thanks for listening to Rosen Sports Monday. Again, thanks to Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. This is Charlie Swanson and my friend Dr. Ben Stein at Broadway Dental. Thanks for listening.